Rebel Buddha here, and welcome back to the show. Today we have a special guest, Drorit Pobuta. She's the owner of Agoura Power of Yoga. I've worked for her for almost a decade now, or a full 10 years actually, and welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So how's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
Everything's good.
Did you teach today?
I actually, yes, I taught at 7 a.m. That's my new class, my first day, and then I subbed. But today was supposed to be, Mondays were supposed to be my days off.
Yeah, there's really no days off for a yoga teacher.
There's actually no such thing as planning anything either, so that's what I learned.
Right on. How did it go?
Great.
7 a.m., that's kind of
Awesome.
early for you, right?
7 a.m. is really early. Of course, it was my first day having to wake up so early, so of course I couldn't sleep because I was wondering how I was going to wake up that early.
Right.
But I woke up, I did it.
What time did you wake up?
6:15.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really kind of pushing it.
It is. It's still dark out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when I have to teach early, I automatically wake up early. It just does it for you.
I don't know how people do it. I'm really, I mean, I enjoy, when I get there, I enjoy it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's great to see all these people I don't usually get to see during the week because they have to work. So it's a different crowd. It's like maybe people I might see on Saturday that can't come. So
Right.
I love seeing their faces. It's awesome.
It's the best. Mm-hmm. And so you have to drink a bunch of coffee right away to get up and do the class?
You know, honestly, I don't know about you, but coffee doesn't really help me. I just love it.
Okay.
I just love it. I love the smell of it. I love the taste of it. I love the whole thing. That first taste, you know, like that first sip is like, ah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I don't think it helps me at all.
Really?
I was walking around in a daze today. I actually posted my class I was subbing an hour later. That's how half asleep I was all day.
You already subbed the class.
Coffee
and
did nothing.
And then you posted it.
No, I posted the wrong time for the
Okay.
class I was subbing.
Oh my goodness.
So I was sleepy.
Right on. So the studios, Agoura Power of Yoga has been there since 2009. Mm-hmm. When did you take your first yoga class?
I took my first yoga class. Let's see. I always figured out my daughter was 2, and she's 20, almost 24 now.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so like 22 years ago is when I started taking class.
Where?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I tried taking it, and I don't even count like before that because I really couldn't get into it. I was going to the wrong places. I think I was going to the gym, which now the gym is completely different. You know, like Equinox has some fabulous teachers, but back then the gyms were, I mean, it was just like sleepy yoga, and I couldn't get into it. But I would say about that time that I said is when I found like my first yoga class that I liked. So the first class that I went to was, it was a yoga studio that Brian Kest opened in Calabasas.
Okay.
He wasn't my first class. Some of his fabulous teachers came from Santa Monica, and I was like addicted. From the first day, I took my first class. And the class that got me going is a class that was really challenging, but really spiritual at the same time, which is what I tend to do. It's, you know, it's physical, but spiritual, heart-based. So, and I always stuck with that.
So who was your first teacher in real life who really you jumped on board with their class a lot? Or
So I think it was a teacher that worked at Santa Monica Power Yoga that came over, and I think it was Caleb Ash. Mm-hmm. Brian Kest was right around the corner. I took class from Mark Blanchard. I took lots of classes from Annie Carpenter. I discovered Vinnie Marino, and they all had something else that, you know, I don't teach like any of those people, but I learned a lot from every person, and I learn a lot from a brand new teacher I go to. Sometimes I go to a brand new teacher that's just been teaching for a little while. Most of the time, just maybe to check them out, and I learn something
just
from
scout
everyone.
them out for your studio?
I mean, even though it might not be a right fit, I still learn something from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, you know, I love it. So
It's a never-ending process.
no, because, you know, everybody teaches in a way that shows what their experience in life has been. So I've learned a lot in my life, and I can only share how yoga's helped me and what I've learned in my life through my years. And I feel like you go to someone's class, they might be young, you know, but they have learned something in their life. They may have been through something, and they have a lot to share.
There's this one thing I like to say, or I've heard on the internet. There's a lot of really good old teachers. There's a lot of bad old teachers. There's a lot of good young teachers, and there's a lot of bad young teachers. So it doesn't really, age isn't in yoga is kind of relative.
Mm-hmm.
if you've been practicing for at least 5 or 10 years, I would say.
It absolutely doesn't matter. Sometimes there's new teachers that really have it going on on every level, and there's some teachers that are older and they're kind of not into it anymore, you know. But it's kind of like what they've been doing, and or maybe they are. But you know, as long as you're really passionate still about you know, really teaching them whatever you want them to learn. I mean, everyone's got something else that they really want to impart. But as long as you're really passionate about it, you want to take care of your students. You want them to feel happy and good and safe and strong and peaceful when they leave, and really still feel passionate about those things, you know? Yeah,
it's practicing yoga for a long time with all vigor is a very challenging thing to keep igniting and to keep burning, but it's really,
and to be open to the changes that happen to you. I mean, remember when you came right to the studio and you started teaching, you were teaching like, you know, kind of power yoga, and you were, you know, and then over time you started to shift into Ashtanga, right? You started shifting in, and even within Ashtanga you've been shifting, right?
And now, I mean, like I've even been taking class at the Iyengar Institute on La Cienega in LA, and I'm like, this is fun. Or now I have my rope wall that I really like, or like I use the stool or the chair, and it really depends on the day and how you feel, and to listen to that.
Absolutely.
And some days, you know, maybe I only use the rope wall and do a rope headstand, and I don't even do a chaturanga because my shoulder's telling me not to.
Right.
And to listen to that, and not to just be so gung-ho in one system or one subject, but to be open to learning to all the systems, because you have to help, as a teacher, you have to be able to help so many people.
Absolutely.
And there's so many injuries, or some people don't have legs, or for real, or some people don't have fingers, and to like help them modify, then you might not learn how to do that unless you took an Iyengar class.
Absolutely. And you know, these days so many people have been getting injured in their whatever workouts they do. It feels like people are just finding workouts that are harder and harder and harder on their bodies. Even some of the yoga classes, maybe they're not monitored. So I have a lot of people coming in that have been injured in many ways and have been telling me. And so over the years, I've shifted a lot. I mean, I still teach vinyasa, but I am completely Iyengar based. And I'm really specific about square hips and square shoulders and all that kind of stuff. And I like walk around meticulously fixing everyone, the space between the feet, you know, for warrior one and all that, and fixing people, and finding people are actually healing from their injuries by use of Iyengar, but still that movement, that exercise, that fire, the breathing, the passion, all that kind of stuff, you know.
It's still in there. The spirit is in there.
The spirit is in there.
Yeah.
You know, I still add music because I'm a lover of music, and I find it just impassions me while I'm teaching and my students. And then obviously I take it down. It's very quiet towards the last third of class, but still, it's just, you know, I teach from my heart. So.
You have like one of the longest yoga classes ever. And that's amazing. Like, I want to ask you, how do you keep their attention so long? Because your class can go to 1 hour and 45 minutes.
I mean, I always try to end it at an hour and 40 minutes, as my husband calls it, 100 minutes of hell. But I always say 90 minutes. It used to go to 100. I'm trying really hard to do an hour and a half. I can't even teach it in an hour and a half. It's very hard for me. There's so much, like, I want to touch every part of the body, every part of the soul. And the funny thing is, whenever when I started adding classes that were a little bit shorter, my students were actually complaining, you know, or they're like, what? You know, or I said, I'm going to start ending on time from now on. What? We like it when you go long. I don't know. We have a lot of
Is this
lot to do.
Shavasana like 15 minutes or something?
My Shavasana is at least 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Definitely,
so
at least 10 minutes.
That's just a big chunk of time right there.
Absolutely. And then I like to treat the last third of my class, the stretching before Shavasana. I like to treat that almost kind of like a yin class. So, and I want to, I'm unsatisfied only hitting a few stretches. So that's usually why I end up over teaching the extra 10 minutes, because I'm like, it's time for Shavasana, but I'm like, oh, no, I need
more.
a little bit more of this and that, you know? So, Yeah, so that's what happens. I mean, I try so hard, but it's really hard to end on time. I know it's long.
I don't mind. I mean, it's your studio.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, it's cool. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm just, all the classes are one big blur nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's just, yeah. So you do really long holds, like you do a Paschimottanasana, sitting forward bend for like 3 or 5 minutes or something like that?
Well, first let me just say that nothing is ever the same. I've never planned a class in my life. And so it really depends on who's in the class. It depends on my mood. Depends on the music. I want to be like an amazing song, right? And I want to have the pigeon all through that entire song. So I might do that. So yeah, it could be really long or it could be shorter. I mean, sometimes I hold standing poses for a really long time. And I'll stay on one leg for a long time until you just like fatigue. And sometimes it'll be more movement. It'll be more like well, even when you hold poses, that's pretty cardio. That's really cardio, but a different kind of cardio, you know? So it's always different. But yes, there are definitely days where the pose is held for quite a long time. And
long holds are really enjoyable. I actually found this book from Krishnamacharya from 1934. And it says that you can hold Janu Sirsasana, head to knee pose, for 30 minutes on each side. And I'm like, what the heck? I've never seen a hold for that long. So I've been working on it. I'm at 12 minutes.
Yeah. And then you can't walk afterwards is the only problem. Does he say that? Does he say that?
Well, just this one, just be really soft and passive. But it's actually really, really enjoyable. And then holding shoulder stand and headstand working towards 5 minutes, I can only get to like 50 or 60 breaths, which is like maybe 2.5 minutes or something. But the long holds are, Iyengar says when he was young, he liked to play. When he got older, he liked to stay. And I'm seeing that as I grow in my practice. I'm like, I just want to stay here 25 breaths.
Yeah.
So if there was more time, it's a time issue.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's why my class ends up being so long, because it does take time to hit every part of the body, you know. But I think of it as like, I think of the holding poses as one life, you know, and I think of moving through poses as another kind of life. And everything for me is learning how to go through life is when we're in the class. As we know, that's just one part of yoga, right? And so there are days where we have a lot to do. I mean, we're not, listen, from all the yoga texts, okay, I have the utmost respect for all of it. I really do. It's amazing and deep and incredible. But when those were written, those were many, many years ago, and that was a different country, a different culture, a different life. You know, people have kids, people have jobs, people have mortgages, people don't sit on the ground anymore, you know? I mean, we have a different kind of life. And so many of us are juggling a lot of things, you know? And to find balance in the kind of lifestyle that we have these days, it's really important to practice a vinyasa where you're flowing a lot and learn to be present for it. So not like wait, what did I just do a minute ago? To be present for it and feel all of it and move slowly and move with breath and an intention. And then there's other days, right, when we need to learn patience in our lives. We need to learn patience with our activities, with relationships, with people, in life in general, with our health. You know, if we have an injury, all sorts of things like that. And holding a pose for a really long time, longer than we want to be in it, teaches us another way to live through life. So I think it's really important to practice both.
Totally. The postures are the still parts in our life when everything's kind of going well and we're happy, and then the vinyasas are like the ups and the downs, the upward dogs and the downward dogs, and then we're in some nice stillness, and then it becomes chaotic again, and then we have to pay our bills and do something or drive far, and then we're still.
Yeah.
So the yoga, the whole class is one big trek through your mind. And you have to overcome all these battles of mental things throughout the practice. How do you feel being a mom? You have like three kids?
Three kids. Thank you very
much. And you own the yoga studio, and you teach every single day, multiple times, and you're a householder, you're married. How do you balance all that stuff out?
Well, it took me a little while to figure that out. I think that I learned a lot of balance when I first started practicing before I opened my studio. Mind you, I started teaching, and this is really quick, I think. I started teaching 2 years after I started practicing, but the moment I found yoga, that is all I did. I mean, I did it 6 days a week, and I did it with some real master teachers. It was almost like all of my classes were like taking a workshop or, a teacher training or something like that. They were really meticulous. And so I learned a lot just by practicing. It slowed me down. The first thing that I noticed when I was practicing is, and this is so silly, but like I'm a really calm, happy person, but I also have I have some Romanian blood in me, so I could the one thing that I notice is like if I'm driving a car and someone cuts me off, right, where I normally would be like, I swear at them, maybe give them the finger. I no longer did that anymore. That was like this. It's such a silly, basic, not important thing, but it is very telling on the changes that were happening in me, and I loved it. So I took that with me, and I think when I opened up my studio, if you remember, you were there, and it still is run the exact same way. I don't take it too seriously. I remember telling a friend of mine that I was opening up a studio, and his wife had just opened one up in Florida, and they said, "Don't do it. It's going to ruin your love of yoga. Don't open a studio." And I said, no, I'm going to do it really balanced. I'm not maybe going to do it the right way, and I may be criticized by some people for not doing it so professionally, but I'm going to do it in a way that I am going to pace myself just like a yoga class, right, where you pace yourself. And what did I do? Every teacher got their own key, right? You let yourself in, you put your thing out, you do your own...
It's very independent for the teacher.
It's very independent for the teacher. I relinquish control, okay? And... was I on top of the cash? Was I on top of if everyone's on time? No, I wasn't on top of all of that. I mean, I looked into it in my own ways, but I wasn't entangled in it. I was really trying to practice yoga as I was running the studio, and it's worked out pretty well for me. The only time that I ever really don't enjoy is like when I have to replace a teacher and I have to start all over again, or if somebody asks me, "Can I please teach for you?" and I let them, and then they quit a month later because the numbers aren't very quick.
Right.
And then I'm like, that's really my only thorn in my side, honestly. I just absolutely love it. I don't even mind having to sub for someone at the last second. It's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just,
that's the
yourself.
Major thing about running the studio is probably having the teachers come in and they think that they're going to be a superstar overnight or something when no one even knows them.
Being a yoga teacher is not being about a superstar.
Right.
It's not about being a superstar.
Not at all.
And there's been I miss kind of the old days of yoga, but I love that yoga is so widespread.
Yeah.
It's a real mixture. It's very bittersweet for me. Yoga was never being about a rock star. It was never about having, an Instagram and every single picture is you. With a professional photographer that follows you around.
Right.
I mean, I have literally the same 15 pictures of me for the last however many years that my daughter took of me without permission, or my husband or something. I just use them with writing or something. But and I'm not saying that that's the right way to be. I'm just saying that things are changed.
Shifted.
It's not about me, and I think that's. The students will feel that sometimes from certain teachers. Might be coming from a studio where, regardless of what time slot or who you are, 70 people show up.
Right.
But 70 people don't show up in our studio.
Right.
Okay, so you have to be good with that.
Well, I think that people have to remember is that when you teach at a place that's a big corporate environment, all the people that are going there they're students. They're members of a club, and they're going to be going there either way if that person's there or not. So those aren't actually students. They're just people who are going to the class.
Yeah.
So those people have to remember that. And then when you work at an independent yoga studio, when you get people there, if you get 5 people there, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it really is.
Congratulations.
Especially
you did it.
if you're being paid appropriately. It shouldn't be... these teachers are going to these studios and they have so many people in the room, and I can't believe what they're being paid.
I know.
It's unfair.
It really is. Gosh, I was just talking to my parents about this.
Yeah. It's very unfair, and but
that's just the way it is. And things have really shifted in the last, I would say 5 years since 2014 or so, where everything has been really corporate and they draw all the people away from the mom and pop places and they just get stuck at wherever they are, the brand that they think is so cool. And then they get stuck there and they don't want to explore anywhere else because they already pay the monthly payment, and plus their friends go there. So they can't dare not go where their friends don't go or be different, which is like one of my things that I need to just not care what anyone else does at all and like just be like, okay, whatever.
That's what it's about.
It's really hard.
You be yourself.
Yeah, it's really hard. But then you like wish you could share. I like wish I could really share more, but like people just aren't receptive, or like they're just already doing their thing and they don't want to like learn something new. So that's my biggest challenge, is to just be like, okay.
Yeah, but that's really the way it is. When you have to just do what you do and be you. Be Zach Wagner. Be Rebel Buddha.
Rebel Buddha. What's that name?
Rebel Buddha. And just do you.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. You have to do you, and then that's when the people come.
Right.
I think people appreciate the way you teach, your process, what you believe in, what your philosophy is, what draws you into yoga. And I think that my students, appreciate, who I am. I'm just myself. I am the same person out in the world, if you see me at Ralph's, as I am in the yoga studio. Everything's the same, and that's what we need to do. That's what we need to be.
It's just interesting as a teacher, over being a teacher for a decade, is how many different waves of students you get. Like the people who are taking your class, are they some of the same people who started 10 years ago?
Yes.
A few of them.
Yeah.
But some of them, like the people that I have now, I get like batches of students. Like I get like 10 or 15 people, and they practice for like 2 or 3 years, and they move, or they get too old, or something like that. Not that they get too old. They do get like the 70 in their 70s, and they can't do Ashtanga anymore. And then like the new people come, or then the teenagers move and they go to school. So it's like it's this really fluctuating thing.
Yeah, and I find that before all the big corporate places opened around us, and I'm not talking about YogaWorks because that was there before us, but I'm talking about there's just everywhere, and gyms and whatever.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had the same people for many, many years, but a lot of my students have either moved away. A few have passed away. A few have actually passed away.
Right.
Or have gotten jobs. Their kids have grown up and now they have jobs and they can't come all the time. All sorts of various reasons. And the turnover is not exactly the same as it used to be because there's so many other places. So that's where it's shifted a little for our studio. But I feel like for a small studio that does no advertising, that doesn't follow all the hype stuff, I think we're definitely doing something right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel for me, it's not about the numbers. It's about what we're doing, what we're putting out there, and changing people's lives and helping them through situations. I've had people come to class with deaths and divorces and you name it. So such sad things, and this has been everything for them and for me.
Well, it's a medicine.
It's a medicine.
So when did you decide to open the studio? What made you do that?
So let's see. I was wanting to do something. Mostly I wanted to do volunteer work. I wanted to maybe do some work in social justice and be a volunteer. I wasn't really sure. I didn't really have that kind of time because my kids were really little. And I wanted to share yoga because where I lived, there was no yoga anywhere. The place that I was going to, the teachers kind of stopped coming there. It had changed, and there was only like a Bikram studio, which wasn't really my thing. So I wanted to open up a yoga studio, but then I heard YogaWorks was going to open. So I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to open one up. And it finally opened, and it was cool, but it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. So I didn't stay there, and I decided to open up my own studio so that I could kind of have the kind of yoga that I wanted to share.
So you feeling not happy at Yoga Works fueled your fire to do your own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I wasn't happy. It just wasn't the experience that I was thinking that it was going to be. It's great for many people. Obviously, they're doing fabulous, but it wasn't for me. And everyone's kind of gravitates towards a different kind of a yoga studio.
Well, I always like to be really honest on my show. They gave me a free membership at Yoga Works Westlake when I was like 23 years old, and I never felt more lonely than anywhere I've ever done yoga in my entire life. Only that one. I've been to other ones and had a good experience, but maybe it's just me and where my mind state was at the time and how old I was and stuff. But no, that one's weird.
It's just different. It's different. If you've practiced yoga for many, many years and you've gone to like the kind of studios that I've gone to and probably that you've gone to, it just seems real different. Whether these big rooms and high ceilings and air conditioning and 3 rooms and a tea bar, it's amazing for some people. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I started off at a place that didn't even have an entrance. Like it was literally one room with a box for money, and so like it's just hard for me. Maybe it's like the old-fashioned thing or something I can't get away from, and I need to get a little bit more modern. Maybe it's probably just me, but it wasn't for me.
I mean, getting your car valet to go to yoga is just a little different.
Oh, did they have that?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I was literally there when it first was about to open. I would drive by waiting to open, and I think I told you this. It was like Pinkberry and Yoga Works was about to open at the same time, and I would literally drive by the Pinkberry location and the Yoga Works. When is it going to open? When is it going to open? And but anyway, so I opened the studio, mm-hmm. and there was a lot of transitions. I went through lots of different teachers. Remember, we've had some. Oh my God, I could write a book about the experiences I've had, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I learned a lot. There's a lot of laughs. I mean, I still laugh at some of the experiences that I had.
For sure. And this is already the second location.
And this is the second location,
mm-hmm.
yeah. And I toy around with moving again, and I don't think
You don't think
want
so?
to do that. I don't know.
You don't want to go back to some next to like some major, really cool supermarket or anything?
Yeah, no, I don't think I want to.
So?
No.
You don't think it would make it like twice as, or 3 to 10 times as popular, or as getting as many people in to help?
Yeah, but I feel like there'd be like a different vibe coming in from a big. Are you joking? Or are you being serious? Oh, you're being serious?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'd hear honking and we'd hear all kinds of noise. I mean, it's so quiet and it's dark, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not going to happen one day.
Right.
We'll see.
That'd be cool, though. That's all.
I just feel like I don't really know what's in my future. I'm an extremely spontaneous
mm-hmm.
person. I feel a commitment to keeping the studio going because I love it so much, and all the people. I can't even imagine ending it.
There's 25 people there every day.
At the same time, I can't imagine my life not evolving in certain ways and kind of going with it, because that's just kind of the way I am. I start classes and then I pass them on, and I start a class and I pass it on, and I just kind of like that. Who knows what I'll do? I mean, maybe one day I'll move into just traveling the world and doing retreat. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right. You can do whatever you want.
Who knows? Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to share with your students, with the people listening on keeping up their enthusiasm in their practice or anything like that?
I would just say that I would share with students or people that are just starting to practice, to learn patience, and to just kind of sit back and go for the ride a little bit, because there is a huge life-changing component to practicing yoga. And for some people, they find it from the very first class, like I did. Mm-hmm. First class, like real one that I went. Actually, that's not true. I tried different classes until I found the one, and then it clicked.
So it took a little bit. You have to go around and check out a lot of people.
Check out different teachers. Mm-hmm. Check out different. I've had people come to my class and say, I've never liked yoga before, and now I love it. I've had people come to my class and not like it because it's so different than what they're used to. I would also say that teachers never, ever stop practicing and taking other people's classes, mm-hmm. And being a student, ever. Because this was what we were talking about before you started recording, is every time I practice, I learn something new about my own body. I literally am still evolving, and I don't know if you know, but like I've taken one very, very long intensive yoga training about 21 years ago or 22 years ago. And all of my learning has come from me evolving, from learning from my own body, from teaching a lot, from adjusting is huge, from becoming close with my students, even if I only meet them one day. You know, it's never stop practicing. Never stop practicing, and never close your mind to different experiences and ideas, you know.
And what about any other people who want to become yoga teachers? Any advice to them?
Yes, I would say to practice for quite a bit before you become a yoga instructor. There's a lot of things out there kind of enticing people to sign up to be a teacher before their time. And I feel like it would benefit them a lot to practice a lot and learn how to take care of students and learn how to adjust and learn how to come off of your mat and be with your students. And that's something that a lot of trainings don't offer. And so if they do want to go into a training, really find the right training, not the closest one, not the one that's closest to your house, or the cheapest, or the one that's maybe the easiest hours. You know, do your research and find a really reputable teacher, and find a teacher that's going to teach you how to adjust people. That doesn't mean cranking them. You know, a lot of people are afraid to adjust because they feel like that's cranking. Like they'll say, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt them. Or in reality, you don't even need to touch anyone to adjust them. Right. You can literally lightly touch them with your finger, or even talk them through it, or move them with barely touching them. But learning to adjust is big.
Only dangerous for the student, but it's also dangerous for the person giving an adjustment. Like, let me tell you, oh my goodness. Last year, my eye. Did I ever tell you about this?
No.
Oh my god. So I was helping someone in Marichiasana A with this bind, but I was kind of like doing it in a squat where I was kind of like in a deadlift. So I was bent over, so there's blood flowing down, right? And I was pulling this guy to get his hands into this mudra like this around his leg. And I was still vegetarian at the time. And I was like 120 pounds at like 30 years old. And I was squeezing his arms together and my eye popped. Yeah, it was really bad.
Oh my God.
The Chinese doctor, I got acupuncture and stuff. And then the Chinese doctor goes, "You vegetarian? You need to eat meat. You'll never heal." I'm like, "What? No way, that goes against my yoga values. I can't do it, dude." Yeah. He's like, "You must take egg." And I'm like, "Egg?" He's like, "Yeah, eat eggs." I was like, "All right, I'll start with that." So then I gained literally 30 pounds of muscle in like a month.
Really?
Yeah, I can't tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you were really
I was really skinny.
Paper thin, but when I met you were kind of like that because you were so young.
Right.
So I don't know, like that I realized that you were...
I was like so thin.
Wow.
And then I got better because I ate more protein to heal my body. And then now my adjustments have been like the littlest now.
Yeah, I know just because Ashtanga requires a little bit more of I know you like pull and you really, but I'm not talking about that. Ashtanga is a whole other world. I'm talking about you literally, sometimes I won't even touch someone. I will put my hand almost like a rail and say, put your foot between my hands, put your other foot between my hands. I barely touch them. There's some people don't want to be touched.
Right.
Some people like to ask, do you like to be touched? Sometimes, if you've been teaching for 20 years, you can kind of tell who to touch and who not to touch just by eye contact. You can tell a lot about someone just by teaching them.
20 feet
radius. You can just feel their energy that they want to be left alone, Right.
Oh, totally. I like to leave. One of my teachers, Jorgen, he says, as much as you help them, don't help them.
Yeah.
So you have to find this place where you don't want to be overbearing like a helicopter parent over them. Or just give them their space, man. Like, don't bother them, especially if they're attractive. I just leave them alone completely. I'm like, I'm standing over here. Like, I don't, because it's different. Like, there's weird mental energies out there too. And it's weird. People even think that you like say, they think that they told you not to touch them, but they only thought that in their head.
Right.
And they think that they told you, but they didn't tell you that. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
So
I start off by not touching. If it's someone I don't know, I start off by not touching and just telling them where to put their feet. And depending on how receptive and warm they are to it, then I realize they're okay to be touched a little. And then I'll ask them after class if it's the first time I've ever met them. And then most of the time people are like, no, thank you so much for helping me. But sometimes you get people who, they have experience. They want to be left alone, like
Right.
as far as touch goes. And I highly respect that.
totally.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to share with us to
No.
close out?
No.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching the show. Namaste.
Namaste.